Hello there, and welcome into another edition of the JMac Podcast. So glad that you are with us as we are again broadcasting live. Hello, happy Thursday. I hope everything is going well. I wanted to ask a question because I think that this really is an important issue, and that is whether or not we should actually have any more presidential debates. I don't know if you watch the debates. I watch them after the fact when I could sit down and process them and stop and ponder and research and those kind of things. And I really, and I guess that I'm just not very smart for thinking this. I really hoped that there would be some substance, and there was a little bit of substance, but the rest, I'll be honest, I started feeling sick to my stomach. And some of you are going to say, come on, J-Mac, you're just a snowflake. I really thought about the state of our nation and these two people that we have chosen to be our leaders, and it really just made me ill. I just can't believe that this is the best that we have to offer, and that this is where democracy or our republic has come. So I want to ask you the question, and I can see your comments, so please comment. Also like and share this video. I want to ask you, should we even bother with the debates anymore? And I also want to ask you who you think won the debate. Was there a moment in time when you said to yourself, that's why I like this guy. That's why I am voting for him. Or if you're undecided, was there a moment when you said, yep, now I'm decided? And that was really the thing. I mean, debates are designed in my mind, to differentiate between the people and to speak to people who haven't decided yet. And for the life of me, I cannot believe that anybody watched these debates and was converted to one side or the other. I can see people watching and saying, oh, I'm definitely not going to vote for that guy. So I want to know, should we have any more debates? Pam says, nope, we shouldn't. Just plain and simple. This is Jim. Jim says, why bother? Trump's act of the overbearing, nonsensical schoolyard bully needs no repeats. This is Diane. She says, I only saw the highlights, would never watch one live. It would be a joke. And this is Daryl. He says, I could barely watch it, but was like being tied up in traffic, crawling past the horrible wreck. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It really, really got ugly. Was there a moment when you said, yeah, that's what I wanted? This is from Scott. Scott says, yes, we need to have more debates. Mute button controlled by the moderator. This is one of the things that I wanted to bring up. Unfortunately, it's very obvious that these two cannot refrain from interrupting each other. Now, Trump did more of it, but Biden did his share of interrupting the president as well. And so it's very clear that if either side is going to get a word in edgewise, that the moderator is going to have to mute these individuals because they can't be trusted on their own, right? I mean, let's just be obvious. This is Amy. Hello, Amy. How you doing? Also, if you interrupt, the other person gets your time. Oh, so like we make it a real game. Yeah, I like that. And so it's like soccer. Somebody's keeping track of the penalty points, and then we add those on at the end. This is Orion. Hey, Orion. Orion says, when Joe told Trump to shut up, man, that was the only highlight. Well, let me share with you, as your comments keep coming in, there were a couple of highlights for me that were stood out. First of all, the debate was not free of Bidenisms. He had a couple of key moments that made me laugh, which Joe Biden does. He was not gaffe-free. Here's a couple examples.
The 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived?
Wait, what? Did you catch it? One more time.
The 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived?
It's like that old riddle about how many survivors died, or some other way around. And then there was this nugget. I don't know if you caught this.
I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well.
What?
And tonight I'm going to make sure.
Okay, Joe. Too much information.
I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure.
Yeah, okay. This is Chris. Chris says, I feel like they would need to be in separate rooms for a mute button to really work. I guess they could yell. I mean, they're pretty far apart because of social distancing, and the microphones probably would not pick up too much. I think it would be much harder to interrupt somebody if you had a mute button. And lest you think that one side took the high road and the other side didn't, I was at least hoping for that. That didn't happen either. This is, this is, well, let's see what candidate this is.
Manufacturing went in a hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Did you catch it? I haven't seen anybody else who caught this. I looked all over for clips of this. I had to go back into the debate and find it again. Yes, this is the president of the United States calling his opponent a number two. You want to hear it again?
Manufacturing went in a hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Yeah. Welcome to the playground, my friends. The president just called his opponent a number two. This is Scott. Scott says, I feel that Biden got thrown off so badly by the harassment from Trump, lost focus, and fell into his gaffes. Yeah. Obviously, if the guy next to you keeps interrupting you, then that is going to be a problem. And yes, some people are questioning that audio. You go back and listen. The president, it's really clear. One more time.
Manufacturing went in a hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're number two. Biden was not without his petty personal attacks.
With you,
Go ahead. Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me.
Hey, let me just tell you.
No.
So we're going to call him a clown. We're going to call him a number two. President Trump went after his education, went after his son. Did any of this really matter? Again, I understand the idea of having a mute button, but for me, it's not going to matter because you're not going to get substance out of these two individuals. I think it's already clear who they are, what they represent. I don't want to have to sit through another debate. And I feel a responsibility to do so because many of you have been emailing me and messaging on social media saying, J-Mac, what did you think? Now, I did go back and look for moments of specific philosophy or something where I could get some meat on the bone. And there were moments when they differentiated each other. But for the most part, it was just nonsensical personal attacks. Daryl has a really good idea that might solve the problem. Shock buttons. What do you think? Maybe that will solve the problem. Chris says, I don't see how Biden could have responded. If he didn't fight back, he wouldn't have gotten any words in. But fighting back brings him down to Trump's level. This is something that's very important to me. We have gotten ourselves in a place where we think that fighting back means stooping to the level of somebody else. That is wrong. And it's a really unfortunate thing that has occurred in our society. that we think that in order to fight back to the bully, you have to stoop. It's not true. Especially if you believe that your job is to try and convert people who are watching. What you have to do is you have to assume in a debate that there are millions of people watching who haven't decided yet. And if they see somebody who is using the personal attacks, they are interrupting at every turn, you can't get a word in edgewise. You are not going to win that debate by doing what they're doing. It's no different than when, as a parent, you walk into a room and your two children are fighting. And what happens? You're like, what's going on in here? And what do both of your kids do? He started it. And as a parent, what do? You can't tell the difference between the two. So you punish both of them, or you get on both of them. And you teach your children that if you want me as a parent to know who the adult is, who the person is that made the right choice, then you have to act better. You have to be different. If you respond to a playground bully, someone who's acting like a child, by calling you a number 2, if you just turn around and do the same thing, everybody watching is going to go, how do we know the difference between these two? If you respond with poise, with dignity, with facts, with figures, with points, with integrity, people will see the difference. This is how you win a debate. This is, by the way, how you win an argument. And it's one of the reasons why the bully takes the tactic that they do. Because the bully doesn't want to engage you on the issues. The bully doesn't want to have a counterpoint discussion where we both share our ideas, because the bully will be exposed as somebody who doesn't really know. And so the way that you expose them is you take the higher road. But again, in today's world, we've decided that the way that you do this is you just punch back as hard as you can. It solves nothing. And until we get back to the point, and I hearken back, and I was actually going to do this, but I thought, maybe it's too soon. I don't know. But I was going to go back, and I'll do this eventually, pull some clips from Ronald Reagan in debates and how he carried himself in the face of adversity. You should go back and watch. Go back and watch some clips of Ronald Reagan and see how at every turn he took the high road. There was another example of this back when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were running against each other in the primary. The Clintons always used the attack machine. You remember Scorched Earth, the attack machine. And what they would do is they would get their opponents back on their heels, and they would look defensive, and they would start looking like a victim and start scratching back. And that's when the Clintons knew that you had won. But Barack Obama didn't fall for it. I remember time and time again when Barack Obama took the higher road in the debates. He didn't get sucked into that Clinton attack machine. When a bully comes for you as an adult, it's a trap. And they're trying to dominate the discussion. And I was hoping that Joe Biden would be able to rise above that to at least show some clarity. But he didn't. They both used bully tactics when it comes down to it. Now, a couple of you are mentioning the president's failure to condemn the Proud Boys or white supremacy. I'm going to give you a little bit different take on this. And many of you know I have no problem being hard on President Trump. But I think that this is one of those cases where what you're thinking doesn't connect properly with your mouth. I've done this many times. If you watch the debates, there are many times when both Trump and Biden think they're saying something, but they say something different. I think, I may be wrong, that in this case the president was trying to say stand down, but that's not what come out of his mouth. You listen to the clip. You tell me what you think.
What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
So he says stand back and stand by. It really looks to me like he's trying to say stand down. Now, I may be wrong. You can argue with me on that. The reason why this is a much more glaring issue than it would be is because of his failures in the past to condemn certain groups. He has condemned the KKK, and he has condemned other groups. But for the most part, and I've shared this with you in a previous podcast, this president has a really hard time condemning anybody who supports him, because he doesn't want to chase away votes. He doesn't want to chase people out. And so because of his previous statements, if this is in fact just a misstatement where his brain isn't connected to his mouth, well, it becomes glaring. I think that's what happened. Again, this is a whiff. This is the easiest answer in the world. Will you condemn white supremacists? Yes, I condemn white supremacists. Is it much more difficult than that? Back to your questions about or comments about the debate. Rhonda says neither one of them understands how to debate. They need to come with data, not attacks. This is Scott. He says Biden briefly brought up a plan to alleviate the civil unrest, but it seemed to have been largely lost. This is Kathy. She says, LOL, I was thinking of shot callers too. This is Rhonda. She says politics and presidential debates have become a Jerry Springer show. They really have. And I blame us. Or the parties. These tactics stick around because we allow them to, in my opinion. When these are people who represent us, if we don't show them that we're not going to stand for it, then it's a recipe for getting worse and worse. And it's always going to get worse. And here's basically how it happens, is you condemn a behavior on the other side, but you excuse it away on your side. And so what happens is your side consistently gets worse because they face no accountability. And the other side is doing the same thing. It's a guaranteed path to worse and worse, more and more childish behavior, in my opinion. That's the course that we are on. Only when organizations decide to hold their own to a higher standard will things get better. So your representatives, your politicians, they need to know that there's a line that they cannot cross. Even if you are a member of their party or they represent you, there's a line that you will not tolerate. Well, with President Trump, there's absolutely no line. And with Joe Biden, there's no line. And I would ask you, if we use the partisan reversal test, and you had just watched a debate between Hillary Clinton and President Trump, and Hillary Clinton interrupted Trump every 2 seconds and called him a number 2, would you be saying Trump won that debate? Would you be saying, oh, it's fair game, Hillary Clinton is just debating? Or would you go after Hillary? If you would go after Hillary, but you're making excuses for Trump, then you're exactly in the place that I've talked about. We have to hold our own to a higher standard. When we don't, extremes have free reign. They have the ability to take over and do whatever they want. And we go through backflips and all of these machinations to try and justify away what they're doing. Instead, we should be standing up and saying, you know what? We have standards. We have principles. But we've thrown all of those out the door in exchange for what? I don't know. I'm not sure. This is Scott. Scott, thank you very much. He says, amen, brother. This is Jerry Garcia. He says, you haven't been watching Springer if you think that. I haven't watched Jerry Springer in years. This is Kathy. She says, for me, talking back about President Trump, the stand by comes across as a call for action. I can see what you're thinking. I mean, he does say stand by, and then he says something needs to be done about the left. Many have interpreted that as stand by, Proud Boys, because I need you to do something about the radicals on the left. Is that how you perceive this? I'll play it again.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
So the ambiguity left wide open. You take that and you add it to his previous statements, and it's pretty easy to understand why the headline becomes President Trump fails to condemn white supremacy. So again, this was a no-brainer. It's just like the question he was asked. I did a podcast about this too. The question he was asked, will you commit to a peaceful transition? That was a no-brainer. That's a slow pitch right over the base. You swing and you hit it out of the park. What you say is, I will obviously commit to a peaceful transition, but I want to make sure it's a fair election. So I will use the courts. We will have poll watchers. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that this is a fair election. And when the courts have decided, or when it's all been looked at and everything is said and done, of course, if I lose, I will leave the White House peacefully. But I'm not going to lose. See, it's an easy answer. And will you condemn white supremacy? It's an easy answer. Yes, I condemn white supremacy. It's an easy answer. But the ambiguity left him wide open, unfortunately. All right. Any other of your comments? I'll take those quickly. I do want to remind you to please take a minute and support this podcast. I'm a one-man show here. I'm clipping all the audio. I'm doing everything. And it takes a lot of time. I love to do it. I love to hear your thoughts. And you can see we're slowly getting better. I can see your comments now. I can put them on the screen. But all of those things cost money. So if you'll take a minute and scan the QR code that you see on the screen, or look in the description of this podcast, please take a minute and make a donation. Commit to a monthly donation or a one-time donation. Brandy just made a one-time donation. Thank you, Brandy. That will help me to continue to bring you fearless honesty all week, all month, whatever it takes. I wonder if we're going to have another debate. I'm really not sure if that is going to happen. I know that the debate commission is now working on measures to somehow make it more equitable for time. I don't know how they're going to do that if neither side is willing to commit and follow the terms that they agreed to without some other technical intervention. Separate rooms, shot callers, mute buttons. Maybe we just have to go to pre-recorded answers where the answer is given in advance. You go on a video camera, you answer, and both sides make a statement. I would like there to be some interaction. I think that brings out different things in different people. But if it's just going to be a repeat of what we just saw, I don't think it's good for the country. I don't think I can stomach it again. And so something's got to change. Hey, everybody, thank you for your comments today. Thank you for tuning in. I know these things come at you kind of last notice. If I can get my systems up to where I want them to be, I will schedule them in advance so you'll know when they're going to happen. Maybe even a regular time slot. How would that be? But please, thank you. Be sure to like this video, share it with everybody that you know, and please take a minute and make a donation if you can. With that, I'll let you go, and everybody please have a wonderful day.